And we're back. And this time I'm not going to show you a running clock. We're going to try things a little different times. This is EPA1 for the spring of the year 2020. EPA1 Hengjung Younga. This is the second recording for the first week. Okay, so far so good. Did you notice that I'm wearing a different jacket? Oh, let's turn on the light so you can see. Did you notice I'm wearing a different jacket this time? A little bit different. And a different tie? But, to be honest, it's the same shirt. You know, professors aren't paid as much as we used to be. And you can see that there's a little bit of dusty, well, not dusty, but busy bookcase here. And there's a thingy hanging from the door. I don't even remember what it is. My wife did something once upon a time, and we just kind of, yes dear, it's okay. Anyway, so we're back. I'm going to reduce myself a little bit. And we'll kind of slide that part of the door off. So we're here. It's EPA1. And let's take a look at what we're doing today. So, it's musical math. That's my favorite topic in this class, and you can see we fit all the way there. Our learning objectives for our second meeting. First, we want to review last class. See what we can learn from our learning. One of the things we didn't do last class, we didn't get to it, was how to introduce yourself. So we're going to talk about personal introductions. And I want to say, if you've already looked at the book, that what's in the book is very, very short and simple. We're going to do something a little more than that. And we're going to talk about name cards. That's one of your assignments. Doing a personal self-introduction is an assignment. So you have an assignment to do a self-introduction, both written, write out what you're going to say, and spoken, you're going to record yourself. And you need to make some name cards, well, one name card. Then we're going to get familiar with the book, and we're going to talk about daily English, which I call musical math, and I'll explain why I call it musical math. So first, let's review our last meeting. We introduced the class EPA1. Oops, this is EPA3, EPA1. I'm using the same recording for this part. EPA1 and EPA3, the first meeting had a course introduction, and EPA3 has a course introduction. Then we're going to do introduce the instructor. We talked about that. I did it very quickly. I'm going to do it again today. Then what we were doing last time, and we did it, check mark, is introduce the materials in the system, the CTL, the books, the syllabus, communications. So we did that last time. We'll look at it again very quickly. We will do some get to know the instructor, which we did last time. A little bit more, a little bit different. And then what we didn't do last time was how to introduce yourself. So that's the key point for today. Now, let's go back to the previous slide. And again, today's objectives, review last class. Well, we kind of did that. How to introduce yourself, getting familiar with the book, and daily English. So, for the self-introductions, I want to go into the CTL, and we can see a bunch of stuff here, but remind you, the notice board might not show up here. Be sure you check it every time. It's on the top of the list. You want to unpack it, right? Be sure that you do your videos. Now, this is our second video, so you can see that the first video is now online. Question and answer. If you have any questions, pop them up here. The assignments, when we finish this second video, or the third video if you count the course introduction, after we finish the first week of videos, you should be ready to do 4 assignments. A self-introduction by writing, typing out, a self-introduction recording, your name card, and you should be getting ready to do your business self-introduction, which we might not talk about today, or we might. Depends how much time we have. At the end of this video, you should be ready for quiz number 1. And again, as a reminder, the Jaryo Geishipan is mostly for students chatting to students. I won't look there much. So let's go into the 학습 자료실, which is where most of our work is. As a reminder, our textbook is Global Links 1, the purple one, if you are in EPA1. And if you are in EPA3, you want Global Links 2, which is a reddish-purplish book. If you're in EPA3, you want this book. Okay. And that's the information. Again, the beginning of the book is available, and the beginning of the book is available here, and the audios are here. And if you're in EPA3, it is the EPA3 materials. Again, I'm cheating this part of this. And EPA1 and EPA3, this first week, almost everything is the same. So, quick review. My name is Robert Dickey. If I think I didn't mention much in my EPA3 class, but I've been in Korea for 25 years. I came in August of 1994. And I'm married. My wife is in Miryang Bakshi, and I live in Miryang because I love the town. That means I commute. I travel back and forth from Miryang to Daegu almost every day. Occasionally I stay in Daegu, and some days I might not come to school. Like right now, in this coronavirus time, I will only rarely come to school. But during the normal school year, I'm at school probably 5 days a week. I teach on Saturday for the graduate school. So most days of the week I'll be at school. But because it's a long way and I teach night class, I often will not be at school before 11 a.m. One day a week I have a 10:30 class. But I'm not an early bird. I won't be at school very early every day. Okay? We're going to be working mostly through the CTL, the 학습 자료 system, and the e-board, where most of your information is called the 학습 학습 자료실. And where did we go? Where was it? Oh, it's in the notice, of course. Up in the notice. Notice. Where's the notice? 강의실, 공지사항. In the notice, I pointed out the sections of the e-boards. Okay. Alright, so there are several ways to do this. We're going to focus on the 학습 자료. And you see a lot of stuff here. And we are going to start with self-introductions. So here we're going to talk about self-introductions. You want to introduce yourself in a way that foreigners will understand. Because we have cultural differences. So what we expect when we are listening to English is not what you expect when you are speaking Korean. That makes sense, right? So the things we expect to hear, if you don't tell us, we're surprised. And in Korea, sometimes you say things that we don't expect in English, and even it might be rude to ask someone that question in English. So we're going to talk about that. There are things we don't expect to hear, and there are taboo subjects, things that we shouldn't talk about, and other things just seem strange. Okay, first problem. Korean self-introductions are usually too long. These soges run 45 seconds, 60 seconds. You know, when you went to MT and you tell everybody all your secrets, that's not what we really expect. So I'm going to move myself up here so we can read a little better. In English, we generally expect short self-introductions. Then people ask questions about things they want to know more about. That's how we start conversations. We, on purpose, don't say some things because we expect somebody will ask questions. So, here's my simple self-introduction if I'm introducing myself as a university professor and I'm talking to another foreigner. Hi, my name is Robert Dickey. Please call me Rob. I'm a professor of public administration at Gammon University in Daegu. That's it. Nothing more. It's done. 5 seconds? 5 seconds? 7 seconds? 8 seconds? That's all we need. Okay. But for Koreans, it's a little more complicated. Because we have cultural differences, you have to help the foreigner understand your name. The first problem is Korean names. Why? Because Korea, unlike almost every other country, puts family name first. That's confusing, especially if somebody knows that Koreans usually put family name first. But the Korean is thinking all foreigners expect my family name last. So a name like Jung can be a first name, a middle name, a last name. Minjung. Is Minjung? Is Jung a family name? Is Min a family name? Song could be a family name, could be a given name. How about the name Jung Min Sung? Is that family name Jung? Call me Min Sung? Or is that family name Sung? Call me Jung Min? It's really confusing that way. Okay? In the same way, spelling can be challenging. Maybe spelling's not important, but just take a look. The Korean name Jung can be Jeong, Jung, Chong. Yes, I know somebody who writes his name that way. Chung. Yes, I know someone who writes his name that way. And there are some others. I actually know somebody who spells their name Cheong. I'm sure there's more. So, if your name could be confusing to spell, you should spell it. Tell people how to spell your name. Me too. Sometimes I spell my family name for people. Dickey. Just like Mickey Mouse. In fact, when I was in high school, my nickname was Mickey Mouse. Yeah, it's true. So, if your name is confusing, spell it. But if your name is Park, Bak, my wife is Miriam Bakshi, and you spell it in English the normal way, P-A-R-K, you don't need to spell it. If your name is Kim and you spell K-I-M, you don't need to spell it. But if you spell your name G-H-I-M, somebody does, you should explain it. If your family name is Park and you spell it different, like the tennis player, the golf player, the soccer player, we have P-A-K, we have B-A-K, we have B-A-H-K, P-A-K, I said that one, right? So if you spell your name not the usual way, then probably you should explain it to people. You should spell it differently. For the place where you're from, think about where you are now. Huh? That's confusing. Let me explain. If you're now outside of Korea, for example, you're visiting somebody in Australia, people in Australia probably don't know Korean city names at all. If you say, I'm from Daegu, they don't know Daegu. You should say, I'm from South Korea, or I'm from Korea. You can choose. If you say Korea, they might say North Korea, South Korea. They don't know. They really don't know. So I usually say South Korea. If you are in Korea, but not in Daegu, if you're in Seoul, maybe many people won't know the neighborhoods and districts in Daegu. So you need to tell them you're from Daegu. Don't say I'm from Dalseogu, because they don't know. I'm from Daegu. Then maybe they'll say, oh, where in Daegu? Oh, Dalseogu. Oh, yeah, I know Dalseogu. Right? If you're now in Daegu, tell them which district and maybe which neighborhood. Right? People know. And me, I don't know the neighborhoods very well, but I know the subway stops. So you could say, I'm from Daegu in Namgu near Yeongnam Byungwon. Ah, okay. Yeongnam-dae Byungwon? Yeah, like that. Yeongnam Hospital, Yeongnam University Hospital. Then I would know where you are. Next, please don't talk about your family in your self-introduction. You're introducing you, not your family. I know in Korea, 우리 가족 is very important. But in English, we don't expect you to talk about your family. So please don't. That means also, please don't talk about your pets. I really don't want to hear about your little fluffy rabbit, your cutie dog. Maybe later. Not in your self-introduction. Your age is very, very important in Korea, but it's not at all important in the West. And in fact, my wife often asks me how old my friend is, and when I say I don't know, she doesn't believe me. Because it's just strange in Korea that you wouldn't know somebody's age. But in the West, we don't care. It's not part of the ball game. Usually, when we're doing our self-introduction, we describe ourselves by our profession, by our work, by our field. So that means you should probably talk about your job title and your company, if you work, or your school and your major, if you're a student, and probably also your school year. Okay, not your age, but your school year. So let's take a look at an example. I'm going to shrink myself a little bit, I think. Yeah, we'll do a little bit. And scooch me down. This one's a little bit long, but it includes all the necessary information if something is confusing. Okay? It has three main parts. First, hi, my name is Jung Min Sung. My family name is Jung. Spell that Jeong. Please call me Min Sung or Min. I'm a second-year student of public administration at Daejeon University in Daegu, Korea. Say Korea if you need it. I'm from Andong, but I live in the university dormitory now. So where are you from, or tell me something about that. Or maybe I'm originally from Gyeongju, but I moved to Daegu 5 years ago for high school, something like that. Or maybe I live in Banwodong. Banwodong, right? Near the center of the city. Or maybe I commute to school every day from Gumi. Commute means 통학. Or maybe I take the school bus to school from my family home in Hwanggeum-dong. Okay, because we're talking to people in Daegu, we can say things about in Daegu. If I was talking to somebody in Seoul, I would just say I take the school bus to school from my family home. I wouldn't say in Hwanggeum-dong because I don't know. Okay, so please notice 15 seconds is a long self-introduction. That means too long. Okay? It means too long. Usually we just introduce ourselves by name and maybe affiliation. That's our school or our business. As I did before, hi, my name is Robert Dickey. I'm a professor of public administration at Gaemyeong University in Daegu. Boom. Finished. If people want to know more about us, usually they just ask questions. But if I'm introducing myself with a name card, like that, can you see that? Let's get closer. Will it focus? Kind of. If I'm introducing myself with a name card, my name card will say most of my key information. We have another post to talk about name cards. So if I'm introducing myself with a name card, I just say a little bit and let my name card or my business card do some talking for me. Hi, I'm Rob Dickey. I'm a professor at Gaemyeong University. That's it. Because then they can look at my card and see, oh, Gaemyeong University, oh, it's in Daegu, oh, you're in the public administration department, okay. Right? The name card can do the talking. Now, you have an assignment. Don't have to finish it right now. You can continue this video. You have to finish the video. If you stop the video, you have to start over again. If you don't finish the video during the schedule for the video, then you're counted as not in class. You missed class. If you have an assignment, write your self-introduction. Write it out. Type it out. And you're going to give me that. And you're going to record your self-introduction. It should be what you wrote. Check the assignment section for this work after the video's over. Now, you should practice your self-introduction again and again and again and again and again and again and again, so that it's automatic, so that you don't think about it, so that you don't use any mental energy on your self-introduction. Think about how you can write your name on the computer. You don't type out Biak, Giak, Miam, Nian, like that. You don't do that. It's like, it's automatic. Nope. You want your self-introduction to be that automatic, that fast and easy. Don't say too fast, people don't understand if you talk really fast. But that with no mental energy. It's almost automatic. So that's your self-introduction. My introduction. Hi, my name is Robert Dickey. I'm a professor of public administration at Gaemyeong University in Daegu. Oh, you have questions? Sure. Question? Are you married? Yes, I have a wife, a son, and a daughter. My wife is a Miryang Bakshi. Her name is Bak Mi-jung. And I met her when I was working at Miryang University. That's now part of Busan University. I have a son. He's in university in America, except he came back to Korea to do his military service. He went to Daegu International School for high school, but elementary school, middle school, he did in Miryang in the public schools. My daughter is in high school in Korea. She goes to Korean Girls Middle School, Korean Girls High School. She went to Korean Middle School, Korean Elementary School. So they're bilingual, yeah. That's my family. Yeah, I live in Miriang. I commute every day. I usually take the Mugunghwa because I'm cheap. Take a cheap train. And that takes about 45 or 50 minutes. And then I take the subway from Daegu Station or Dongdaegu Station. So that's just about an hour till I walk into my office. So yeah, it's almost 2 hours from home to office. And then at the end of the day, I make the trip back. Often, not always. Officially, technically, I have a house in Daegu. I really do, but I don't stay there. Not very often. If I need to stay late, yeah. But otherwise, you know, I love my family. I want to go home. Alright. So that is your self-introduction. Now, couple of key points not here you want to think about. Your family name in English is sometimes called surname. S-U-R-N-A-M. Let me write that for you. Click. S-U-R-N-A. You can see I can't write very well with a mouse. I can't write very well with a pen. M-E. Surname. Surname means family name. Family name. And often in the West, we call that the last name. Okay? Because the surname comes last in most countries. So the first name is also called the given name. That is the name that your mother gives to you. Your surname you take from your father. Right? My father was Wayne Dickey, and I am Robert Dickey. Given name is the name that your mother or the old woman in the neighborhood who can read the lucky charts and stars and stuff, they give you a name. That's your given name. So my wife's surname is Bak. In Korea, that's a first name, but in English, we would call that a last name. It's much safer to not say first name, last name, because it's confusing in Korea. So much better to say, my surname is Bak, my given name is Min-sung. Okay, so that is the self-introduction section. Let's clear that. Now, we've done all that. Let's scroll down and look at the next section, which is name cards. Oh, I forgot to say, age. Generally, we don't offer our age. As I said, don't make it part of your self-introduction. In the West, we think age is a woman's secret. If you ask a woman her age, she could be insulted. She could get angry at you. So if you want to know, boys, if you want to know a girl's age, ask a friend. It's not rude for a boy to say his age. It's not rude, impolite for a girl to say her age. It's just strange. We just don't do it. It's culturally different. So we don't talk about age. We do talk about school year, but not age. Okay. Name cards. Name cards introduce you. And I can see that I forgot to download my name card, so we'll have to do that right here. And that's a strange place for it, but that's okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and I have to open up a file. That means I have to close this. I'm sorry I made a mess here. And where did we go? Where did we go? I made a boo-boo. Let me go back here. shared. Come on, Robert, open your eyes. You should be able to find name card. Okay, so there's my name card. And in my name card you can see that you can see my company logo, 계명대, and my company name and division, 공공인재학부행정학. Actually, it should be 행정학전공, but we often say 행정학과, and I didn't want to get into an argument, so I just added off. You can see my name, Robert J. Dickey. At my professional titles, I have a Master's of Public Administration, a Doctor of Law. My job title, Assistant Professor, School of Public Service, Gaming University, 1095 Dalgu Baldero Dalsegu in Daegu, Republic of Korea or South Korea, and the postal code. Now this is all real information. You're going to have to make a name card. On your name card, you have to put real kinds of information. Even if it's not real for you, it has to look real. It's got my telephone number. Notice that +82 is the Korea code. If you call from international, from overseas, and you want to call Korea, you have to dial 82. If you're in Korea, you dial 053. But if you're outside of Korea, you don't dial a 0. You just dial 8253. And this is my office number. Similar for my cell phone number, 010-2272-0968. And this is my outside email address. This is what I use when I go to conferences and seminars. It's what I do when I am working in organizations. But for my students, I prefer you to write to rjdickey@kmu.ac.kr, like we talked about last time. Also on my card, I have a kind of a service mark, a kind of a saying about my professional field or my working. Your company might say something, or many people it's just blank. But for me, my focus is blended learning. And that's a future lesson, talking about blended learning or content-based instruction, where we combine a subject, like public administration, and a language class, like teaching English. So that's my name card. Close. And now we need to reopen things. So let's go back to the web page. And we're talking about name cards. Now, just like last time, we can talk about if you want to, you can just hit Control plus, I'm in Google Chrome, and it will make things bigger. It's up to you how you want to do it. So name cards introduce you. They cut down the amount of talking that you do because the name card does talking for you. Name cards usually introduce your name and your contact information, phone number, a fax if you still use a fax. Many businesses still use fax, especially in the travel industry. Hotels and travel agents still use fax. Email address, postal address. How can I write a letter and the post office will deliver it? A street address, if it's different from a postal address. Some places the mail goes to a postal agency or a special address that's not the same as the street address. And a very few companies still use things like telex, which is an older technology, kind of like a telegram. It's a closed system. So if your company uses that kind of work, you include it. Nowadays, people might want to include their social media accounts, like Kakao or oh my gosh, my brain's empty. Any other kind of social media account that they use. So my school name card is attached to this page. You've just taken a look at it. Here's a simpler design just below. Here's a mark for a logo. If you don't use a logo, that's okay. The person's name, Maybe they put letters after their name, maybe they don't. His job title, marketing team chief. His company, Alpha Corporation. Maybe a section of his corporation, just like I would write 공공인재학부. So he wrote Home Appliances Division. And then his building has a name, the Nonghyup Center. If your company owns your building, that's great. If your company doesn't own the building, but the building has a name, you might use it, or you might just use a street address. It depends on how well people can identify your building. So the Nonghyup Center, number 1304, would be a suite, an office number. This is not a house. We're not going to use house addresses. We're going to use business addresses. And then his street address, 115 Sejongno Ilga. Nowadays, we often put in parentheses something about the old style addressing. Maybe the complete old address, or maybe just the neighborhood. Because many people still think about neighborhoods. So we could say in Jungango. In Jungu, Seoul, and a postal code. So that's actually an old style postal code. There should be a new one that's only 5 digits, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is 123-123. It's got his office number, got his cell number, and it's got his email address. So your assignment is going to be to make a name card that you can give me and that you can put in your notebook. Don't forget, you keep notebooks. What you give me in the assignment could be a camera photograph of something you drew. It could be a PowerPoint file. It could be something you did in a graphics program. It can be just pencil writing on paper. That's fine too. You don't have to make a fancy name card, but it should be neat enough. It should be clean. It should be easy to read. And for your midterm test, you will need to use your name card. So you want to think about what company you're going to be with in your mind for this class and be ready to talk about it. That's part of what we do in this class. We work on our name cards. Okay, so at this point, we have done the name cards, and we have done self-introductions. All right. Now, we're going to talk about the, we just lost it. We'll have to go up one. We're going to talk about musical math. This is kind of my concept, but I didn't invent it. If you ever studied piano or violin or any other musical instrument, probably your teacher told you you should practice every day. A little bit of practice every day is better than a lot of practice one day and then nothing for 1 or 2 days. Every day is better than sometimes. So, movies, TV, radio, reading newspapers, magazines, or books, find what you like so that you can be doing English every day. That's for you, not for me. For me, you have a class assignment. Your class assignment is, I require 15 minutes of English listening, not reading, every day. Every day. Video is okay, but listen. Don't just look at images or read Korean subtitles. I don't care if you read Korean subtitles, but the focus is your ear. In fact, it's better to play English pop songs while you're in the shower than to do nothing. Okay? 6 days a week. I'll give you 1 day off. The theory behind this is something that every music student learns. I call it musical math. It's math because we add and subtract. Musical because music students learn this. It goes like this. Every day that you practice at least 15 minutes, you improve. Each day that you don't practice, you fall backwards. So you can think about this. You can count this as practice equals +1, no practice equals -1. So let's look at it. In a 7-day week, practice 5 days, no practice 2 days, +5 -2 equals +3. That's not bad. It's not great. It's only 3 out of 7. Right? If you practice every day, you have 7 plus and no minus. That's 7. 3 out of 7 means only less than 50%, right? In 1 week, you got only 3. Think about it worse. If you only practice 3 days and you don't practice 4 days, you're actually falling behind. You're going backwards. You're losing points. Your skill is getting worse. So, you need to practice every day. If you do 6 days and don't do 1, that's 5. 5 out of 7 is pretty good. In your notebook, write the date. That means like April 4th, sawa sa'il. The time, 7:30 p.m. And a few words, 7 to 10 words about what you were listening to. Don't write too much. Something like, good morning, Pops. David has a headache. That's enough. The date, the time, and a few words. Tell me what you were listening to. I'm going to grade this. I'm going to count your days. I'm going to make sure you're doing your work. Don't study. Don't worry about studying. Just hear English in your ears. Now, really, it doesn't mean study math and play English, because now you have no brain in your ears. You're supposed to be listening, letting the sounds of English, the patterns of English, more English words come into the front part of your brain. All that stuff you studied in high school is going away. You need to bring it back to the front. Okay? Now, I don't really want you to listen to the same thing every day. I don't want you to listen to study tapes, TOEIC conversation. Sometimes, a couple times a day, a couple times a week is fine, but not every day. That doesn't really help you. You just get lost and you get bored. Don't study too much. Just enjoy the English. You want to watch a movie? That's fine. Now, if you watch a 105-minute movie, you can't count that for 4 days. That's 1 day. But if you watch part of the movie today and part of the movie tomorrow and part of the movie the next day, that's okay. We're looking at what you do each day. Don't know what to listen to? I've given you a bunch of links here. Now, these links are not live. On the page, they don't click. You're going to have to copy paste. Why? Because I'm lazy. And actually, these links are old. So some links will be dead. It's just a starter. It's some samples. You can find whatever you want. In case you're interested, these don't count for listening, I also put down some newspapers in English from Korea and the idea that you can read international newspapers. When I was a university student, I was pretty good in French, and I needed it because in my major, my focus was Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and those countries were colonies of France. So much of the history for Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos from up until 1960s was written in French. So I needed French to be able to access those information. So when I was a student at UCLA, 2 or 3 times a week I went to the library and picked up a French newspaper and tried to read it, just to find out what's going on in France. It's just a newspaper. Listening, in those days there wasn't a lot of listening opportunities. I had some classes, I had some recordings, but it was hard to listen to French in the early 1980s. We didn't have internet. We didn't have good radio programs. Much easier for you, right? Okay. Now, let's take a look at the book. I'm going to close this, and we're going to open up the book. We're going to preview the book. And there we go. So, Global Links 1. You can see I've made a mark on this. This is a scan of sections from my book. I've got an old book. It actually has a CD in it. The book you get probably won't have a CD. It won't have this mark. I think your book will have I think your book will have the whatchamacallit, a link to access audio tapes. Alright, so that's the front cover. Global Links 1 in purple. The back cover, no surprises here. Inside the back cover is a phrase book. Now EPA1 and EPA3 have the same design, the same packaging. The difference is the color, and that means the text inside is different. So in the back cover should be a phrase book. This is very useful because the words and ideas that can be on your test, many will come from the phrase book. This is what the phrase book looks like. It's really small here. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So you can see in chapter 2, here's some nouns and products, things, industries, verbs, expressions, WH questions, you learned those in middle school, conversation strategies, things that we'll talk about in the book. This is just reviews, okay? It's called summary language. And it lists a few countries. That's one section of the book. Another section of this book will be a glossary. Just list like a dictionary. It lists the meanings of certain words the way it is used in the book. So the way it's used in the book could be different, or there could be more than one way to use these words, but this is how the book is using this word. You see, like accountant, contract, coordinate. Alright. Now, if you don't have that little booklet, somebody lost it, or the new book doesn't have it, the same information is in the back section of the book. In this particular case, it says page 97. The same summary language, exactly the same as in the book, but the page is adjusted just a little bit. The same information is inside the book. So that little booklet is convenient. You can carry it anywhere. You can put it in your jacket and pick it up and study anytime, right? And similarly, there is a glossary. So, same ideas. Also in the very back of your book will be a few other appendices, things that could be useful. Book 1, Book 2, a little different. On the inside cover of your book is a listing of the audios, all the student audios. You can also see I've got a CD, right? So all of the student audios are listed. Can we see that? That's what you see here. So you get the CD, or you download the set from me, and you know which track, which file number connects to which part of the book. Then at the front of the book there is a typical normal table of contents. It says, you know, 1, da, 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 da. We'll probably do 8 chapters, 8 units in EPA1, but we might skip 1 or 2. We'll ask people what's more interesting to you. For example, overseas business travel might be really exciting for some people. Maybe that's what they want to talk about. Alright, so we'll see. We'll make decisions later. But what is more useful in this book is they have something that's kind of like an expanded or extended table of contents. They call it scope and sequence. So it's the same unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, blah, blah. But they tell you more details of what we're doing. For example, social functional language. What is the purpose of the language? What is the goal? For example, in Unit 1, we talk about introducing yourself. And they give you some examples. They talk about grammar. What's the grammar in that unit? Now, I'm not going to teach a lot of grammar. You were taught grammar in elementary school, middle school, well, maybe not elementary. You were taught grammar in middle school and high school. You don't need me to teach grammar. If you don't know grammar, you need to study it. However, on the other hand, it is not a problem if you ask me a grammar question in class when we go back to face-to-face or on the question board. But I might not be the fastest person to answer because grammar is not my specialty. I know it, but to explain the rules can be difficult. It's not my specialty. So I might say, let me tell you next class, I need to figure out how to explain it. Okay? Every unit has a culture report, which talks about things we do typically in Western countries, or maybe how Western countries are different from Asian countries or different from African countries. Then there's a writing section, which we generally won't do, maybe do very little of. And then there's also a section on numbers. This is very important because usually, honestly, many Koreans are not good with numbers. And they'll say a million for man, for example. Man one. A million one. Oh my gosh, no, that's not right. Man means 10,000. So we'll work on numbers. Scope and sequence. Then it jumps into Unit 1. Alright? And you'll have a chance. You can look at the book. I'm not going to talk about it right now. But on every page, every start of every unit, there'll be an objective section. Something here. Alright? Tells you what we're trying to do in this unit. There's typically an opening activity, opening discussion, some numbers, a partner's task, first partner A, partner B. Right here it says, speaker A use this page, speaker B use the activity file on page 86. Yes, I included that. That is the next page, right? And then there is a reading at the end of the chapter, and there's a star on this because for me, this is the part that I use mostly in our tests. I don't want you to memorize every detail. I want you to be fluent, to be comfortable with the idea so I can ask you a question. There's usually some kind of comprehension check at the bottom that we can do in class. There can be a talk about it section where we discuss further. Now, the online class, this is really hard. The last part of a chapter is writing. We might or might not talk about the writing section. Rarely, not common, will I give you a writing task. But for this first week, second week, you do have a writing task, which is write out your self-introduction. And at the end of the chapter, there is a numbers section. Right? It's a listening activity. I'll play a recording, and you will listen. Now, just for fun, just for laughs, we're going to start here on the first page of the first chapter. And I've got my phone here. I have a big phone, I have a tablet. And I've got a USB on it because I've got the audio files. And I'm going to try to play the opening dialogue. I'm not sure you can hear this.
Introductions in the Business World. Page 2. Business Talk. Getting Started. Exercise 1. These business people are meeting for the first time. Read and listen to the conversations.
Hello, I'm Joan Mead.
It's nice to meet you. I'm Mario da Costa. Hello, my name's Rick Lopez.
I'm Kenji Takeda. Nice to meet you,
Mr. Lopez, please call me Rick.
Okay. The only reason I did that just now is to help you recognize that this book uses lots of different accents. And they're not really fake accents like some books. These sound like genuine native speakers of Spanish, Japanese, or other languages who are using English. It's one of the things I like about the book. Why? Look, half of the people who come to Korea who use English to communicate are not from the USA, Canada, England, Australia, New Zealand. They're from Germany, Sweden, Egypt, Malaysia, Philippines, and their accents are different. They are not, most of them are not native speakers of English, and if they are, for example, if they're from India, they probably talk like this. The accent is different. Maybe the grammar is a little different. Some words are different. I get confused by Australians all the time. They're native speakers of English, but they speak a little different. So the good point of this book is it uses lots of kinds of language, lots of forms of language. Okay, so I want to go back to our learning objectives. We reviewed last class, okay? We talked about how to introduce yourself. We got a little familiar with the book. And we talked about musical math or daily English. So I think I checked all the boxes for today. And we're at about 57 minutes or so. So I think we're done for this section. This is the second session of week 1. And remember, you have a few assignments to do. Don't wait too long to get started. And if you have any questions, toss me a note on the Q&A or send me an email or a Kakao message or send me a simple text message. If you write to me in Korean, please write in elementary school style Korean because my Korean's not that good. And so maybe I can read it or I can use Google Translate to help me. Just like you can use Google Translate or Naver Translate, Papago, whatever, to translate things if you need. Good job. Thanks very much. I'll see you next time.